Charts, a vital tool for any serious trader. In this video, I'll take you step by step through the charting package in Robinhood Legend, our brand new browser-based trading platform. We'll cover everything from settings and studies to drawing tools and indicators. And finally, I'll show you how to place a trade directly from your charts. Let's get started. I've got a blank layout here. I've named it Charts. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a chart to my layout. Once the chart has appeared, as with any widget in Robinhood Legend, we can reposition, we can resize it. Totally up to you on how you want to lay out the widget that you've dropped into your layout. For this one, let's extend this out to the whole monitor. All right, before we dive into all the features and functionality of charts, let's just do a quick 50,000 foot view of what we're looking at. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, this is the stock that we're currently charting. So right now we've got a chart of Apple. That's the symbol you see here in this tab, the last traded price, as well as the current performance for the trading day, both in dollar and percentage terms. If we want to change the symbol that we're looking at, it's as simple as clicking in this tab. We can search for a stock by typing in the symbol. We can select from the drop down or hit enter on our keyboard. That will change the stock we're looking at. Also, you notice there's a pre-populated most popular list. So if there's something that catches your eye there, you can select that stock from there, and then that will change the symbol with the click of a button. Moving down into the chart itself, we've got by default a candlestick chart viewing on our screen, and in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see your chart duration as well as the interval. By default, we see a 1 day, 5-minute chart. We want to switch that. We can change that to, say, a 1 year, and then the interval changes to 1 day. Now we've got a much longer term chart on our screen. Looking at the X and Y axis of this chart, down below our X axis, that's our time. So at the bottom of this chart, you can see this moving in month intervals. This is a 1 year chart. Meanwhile, the Y axis, that's our price interval. So X is our time, Y is our price. If we want to change the type of chart we're looking at, we can do that by going into the upper right-hand corner to this button here that looks like a couple candlesticks. And remember, as with anything in Robinhood Legend, if you hover your mouse over an icon, wait for a second, you'll get a quick little tooltip. This is telling us this is the button for our chart types. When I click this, you'll see we have a number of different types of charts that you can choose from. We can go from candles to lines. If you want just a nice simple line chart, maybe resemble more what you're used to seeing on the mobile app. If you're kind of an old school technician, a lot of those traders like to use bar charts, which is a little bit different than candlestick charts. Once again, this is personal preference, totally up to you on what you want to use as a technician. Let's go back to candlestick for now. Looking a little bit below the chart, you'll notice some bars here at the bottom. This is going to be the volume that corresponds to that specific part of the chart. So for example, if I hover my mouse on this candle, you'll see down at the bottom, it's corresponding to the volume bar for that particular trading day. Now, one thing I want to point out in the upper left-hand corner of our chart, next to the buy and sell button, we have this set of data with the letters O, H, L, C, and V. That stands for open, high, low, close, and volume. So opening meaning the opening price of the candle, high meaning the highest point that that candle reached, low just the opposite, and then close where that candle closed in terms of price. And then V stands for how many shares in this case of stock were traded for that particular increment on your chart. So looking at this example, on June 11th, we had an opening price of 193.65, high price of 207.16, low of 193.63, and the candle closed at 207.15. Meanwhile, the volume for this day on June 11th was just over 172 million shares of stock. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you is sort of how to navigate through the chart. It takes a little bit of practice at first, but once you get used to it, it's kind of second nature. The first thing you can do is anywhere with your mouse, if you just click and hold your mouse button, now we can just scrub back and forth with the chart. I essentially have grabbed the chart, and now I'm just moving it left and right with my mouse. The other thing we can do is we can actually grab the data on the X and Y axis and use that as a point to maneuver. So I'm going to grab the X axis first, and you'll notice this kind of extends the time frame that we're seeing on our screen. Now I'm shortening it and kind of zooming into specific months on this chart. And if I go right, I'm kind of looking longer term, and you'll notice the chart is auto scaling and keeping everything sort of in proper proportion. Meanwhile, if I grab the Y axis, which is the price, this is going to maybe distort your chart for a second. And the reason you might do this is Maybe you want to see more granular pricing increments on your y-axis. So one thing you can do to kind of get back to normal here is use this auto scale button. And when I do this, it kind of snaps everything back so that it looks nice and neat and clean. All right, next I want to show you how to update and adjust both your time frame for your chart as well as the interval that each candle or increment will represent. We'll do this by going to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, and you'll notice here a list of different time frames, everything from 1 day. This is going to be a hyper short-term chart to something a little more medium term like 3 months, as well as longer term with 1 year, 5 year, or we can even go all time. So here we're looking at the all time chart, in this case for Apple, and the interval is still 1 day, but maybe you want to clean that up, condense some of that information. We can click into the interval menu. We can choose everything from ticks to seconds, to minutes, to hours, to days and weeks. For an all-time chart like this, you may want it a little less noisy, so let's put a week out there. Now you can see it cleaned it up a little bit, but this is still a lot of data that we're looking at because it's the all-time chart. But maybe if we draw that back to a 5-year chart, now we got a nice clean chart, the intervals, each candle represents 1 week of data. For the rest of this though, let's go back to the 1-year daily chart. I'm just going to do that by clicking the menu and selecting day. Now another thing I want to show you is how to favorite a time interval. And it's as easy as clicking in the interval menu, finding a time frame that for you is a particular time frame that you always want to have quick access to. For this example, let's just select 15 minutes. And you'll notice down here, we've added a new button next to the interval window and drop down. And so if we click out of this, let's say we're on the 1-year daily chart, but we want to quickly go to, say, a 15-minute chart. I've now added that as a favorite. I don't have to go into the menu to select that. It is there as a favorite. And if we want to add a few more, let's add a 30-second and a 1 day. And you'll notice it keeps adding out these new favorite intervals to our layout. So now you can see I can quickly get back to something that I want to do. So let's look at a 3-month 15-minute chart. Now the other thing you can do is you can create custom intervals, and we can do that by clicking on the interval menu again, and we'll select custom interval. And here we can add one that isn't on the pre-built list. So for example, maybe you want a 10-minute interval. We'll just put that there at the bottom. So depending on the increment you're trying to add, you can add ticks, seconds, days, weeks, months, years, ranges. There's a number of ways to create a custom interval. For this, let's just keep it 10 minutes. And I'm going to hit add, and you'll notice now that 10 minutes now appears in our list, and it is already favorited. We didn't have to click the star, and it has also been added down to the bottom of our menu here. So real quick, if we want to see, say, a 1-month 10-minute chart, I've now done that with 2 clicks of a button. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're really going to dive into the charting package and show you how to add an indicator as well as drawings to your screen. First, to add an indicator, we can go to the upper right-hand corner to this symbol that looks like an F, hover our mouse, and you can see it tells us this is the indicators menu. Click on that, and you'll see we have this settings menu that is dropped down. To add an indicator, we are going to click on Add Indicator. And from there, you'll see the list of available studies and indicators that you have within Robinhood Legend. For this demo, let's just do a simple moving average. I can do that by looking through the list or typing, and there you see simple moving average, or SMA, appears. I'm going to click on that, and by default we have a 50-period moving average to our chart. To adjust or change the settings of this indicator, we'll go back to the indicators menu, and you'll see this is now visible on the list. That means that study or indicator is on our chart, and when I hover my mouse over, you'll notice everything sort of dims in the background, and the indicator that your mouse is hovered over is shown as the one you're about to edit. So to edit this indicator, I'm just going to click on this little pencil, and this is going to bring up a menu where we can adjust some of the settings for this indicator. You'll see the title of the indicator at the top, so you know which one you're editing. Below, the input. So for a simple moving average, it's actually pretty simple of what goes into it. It's just an average of a price over a certain time length. In this case, we're using the closing price of the candles. Maybe you want to change that to something like a pivot point moving average, which uses the high-low close, an average price of that candle to be the input into the study. Below that, we have the length. So right now this would be a 50-day moving average, but maybe we want to change this to a 200-day moving average. And there, we now have a 200-day moving average. So it's a little smoother, more long-term moving average. And the other thing we can do is we can change the style of this moving average. Right now it's a pink color moving average, but we can change that color based on our own preferences. We can also change the weighting. So if you want it to pop a little bit more on your screen, we can go a little bit more thicker in terms of the line weight, or you can make it a little thinner, go to the 1 point. Totally up to you on how you want to view this moving average on your screen. The other thing we can do is change the style of the line. So right now it's a solid line. We can change this to dots. We can change this to dashed. Totally up to you on what you want to see on screen. All right, so this is a study that sits on top of our chart. How do we add an indicator or study that sits below our chart? Well, it depends on the study. For that, let's add an RSI, which is a common lower chart study. To do that, I'm going to go back to the indicators menu and let's search for RSI, relative strength index, and there it is. We click that and you'll notice now a new indicator has shown up at the bottom of my chart. And this is a lower chart study. So at top, we have our price chart with our simple moving average. Below, we now have our RSI. And as I highlight, this is the cool part about Robinhood Legend. I love it. When you highlight over the data within the legend of data in the upper left-hand corner, it sort of just gives it this spotlight moment so you can clearly focus on what you're looking at, and it sort of drowns everything out in the background. This is a very cool design feature of Robinhood Legend. And the same effect happens when we hover over the upper chart study information. So going back to our upper chart, if I put my mouse over the simple moving average data here in the upper left-hand corner, everything sort of gets drowned out, but we see that clear simple moving average that we added just a few minutes ago. Now, let's say we want to delete one of these studies. It's real simple. Either hover over the data point in the legend, and you can see we have access to that settings menu, which we can access from the upper right-hand corner menu, or the individual settings gear wheel here for the particular study we've added. You'll also see the trash can, so if we wanted to delete the simple moving average, we could, just with one click of a button. Now it's off of our screen. And you can do the same thing with the lower chart study. You'll see we both have our settings for the RSI where we can change the inputs as well as the style. And then, of course, if we wanted to delete this from our chart, we could. All right, what if you just want to hide your indicator, but you don't want to delete it? Well, that's also easy too. I've added back in that 200-day moving average, and let's go back to the upper left-hand corner legend of data. You'll see, once again, the gear wheel was for settings, trash can to delete, but now we have the eyeball. And when we click the eyeball, it has hidden that 200-day moving average, but it is still on our chart. We didn't delete it. So if we want to make it visible once again, we can just go back to the eyeball, uncheck that, and now it's back on our screen that quickly. Now you might be wondering, can we add more than one study on the upper and lower chart? Absolutely. So for that, I'm going to go and I'm going to add 2 more moving averages and 1 more lower chart study. We'll add the MACD. Give me a second. I'll be right back. All right, and we're back, and you can see I've been hard at work here. We've added 2 more moving averages. We've got a 100-day moving average as well as a 50-day. So we now have 3 moving averages on our 1-year daily chart. I also added the MACD down below, the moving average convergence divergence. And so here you can see, just with some quick setup time, I've created a very nice, beautiful layout that has moving averages, an RSI, a MACD, and it didn't take that long to build. Now, once again, you might be asking the question, can we save this template? Absolutely. We can do that by going to the indicators menu and clicking on the folder here next to indicators, and you'll see templates appear, and we can save this as a new template, and we'll give this a name. We'll call this 1-year chart. Hit enter on my keyboard, and now you can see that is saved, and with all of the different indicators that we built. So let's say, for example, we added a new chart to our layout. Here we have a fresh chart, no studies, nothing. Let's change the symbol. We'll just pick Tesla. We'll put this as a 1-year chart. And then we'll go to our indicators folder. And there you can see our 1-year chart style is saved with all of the studies and indicators we built. Click that one time. And with one click of a button, our chart on the right is set up exactly how we had our chart on the left. Now let's show you how to add some drawings to your chart. First, let's show you how to add a trend line. Moving to the upper portion of our screen here in the middle, we have some icons for different drawings that we have available. First, we have lines, which is our trend lines, price lines, rays, extended lines. We have shapes, so rectangles and ovals. We have advanced drawings like Fibonacci's, as well as annotations. So if we want to call things out, put text box, make notes on our chart. And then over here, this more button is just some advanced features for when we add drawings. All right, next I'm going to show you how to add a drawing to your chart. We'll do that by clicking on the lines menu here at the top, and let's select a basic trend line. When I do that, you'll notice this little circle is kind of hovering around my mouse cursor. It's because the drawing has been activated and it's waiting for me to put the drawing on the chart. To do that, I'm going to find a spot on the chart. Let's just pick this low point here at the bottom left-hand corner of the chart. We'll click our mouse button once. And now the drawing is active. It's waiting for me to place this trend line where I see fit. And let's just draw this trend line right there. Once you've placed the trend line where you like it, you can click out with your mouse, or we can click the done button up here. And now that drawing is set, it's locked in, it's not gonna move anywhere. If we wanna make an adjustment to it, we can just click it really quick. And now that drawing is active again. And we just grab it with our mouse and we move it to a new spot. That's how you can move the drawing once you've finished placing it. If we want to change the style of this drawing like we did with our indicators, it's as simple as clicking the drawing. You'll notice this menu appears at the top of our screen, and we can change the color. So maybe we want to move this to a more gray color. If you don't like that, we can go back to a different color. Meanwhile, if we want to increase the weight of the drawing, just like we did in the indicators, we can choose a weight or font to that. Let's make that a little brighter and more apparent. We can also change the style of this. So here we have a solid line, but maybe you want a dotted line. You can do that as well, but our indicators are already dashed and dotted. Maybe we want to keep this as a solid line. So a lot of variability and customization built into this. Let's add a second drawing. We've got a trend line, but now let's do a horizontal price level. We can do that by clicking on lines and selecting horizontal line. And now you see there's this left to right horizontal line on our chart, just waiting for us to find a price level to place it. I'm going to place it here at the top of the chart. And we can adjust this setting just like we did with our trend line by going to the weight. If we want to kind of match the look and feel of that, find that weighting that we prefer. Once we're ready to go, we can hit done on our menu. If we want to get rid of a drawing, it's as simple as clicking and activating the drawing and either hitting the trash can or delete on our keyboard, and it is gone. Let's get that drawing back up on our screen real quick. And there we go. We now have a horizontal price level, trend line, moving averages, RSI, MACD. We are really cooking now. Let's put a couple annotations on this chart. This is a cool feature. You can kind of keep notes, make notes to yourself on the chart. For that, we're going to go to the annotations button, and let's do, for the first one, a price label. So maybe we want to see what this price, this high point of this chart is. Just position that and click of a button, and now that is a static price label on our chart. Once we're done, we'll click the done button. Now that is locked in. Let's add a second one. How about a text box? And we'll just make a note to ourselves. I'm just going to call this potential resistance. So once again, not a recommendation, just showing off the functionality of the platform. We now have a price label. We have a note to ourselves. We've really done a good job with this chart. In addition to using the different menus in the chart, we can right click on our chart, and you can see that we can hide our indicators or drawings. So let's do that. Let's hide our drawings with one click. Those are gone, but our indicators are still visible. If we want to bring back those drawings, we'll click show. And if we want to get rid of indicators for a second, we can hide all indicators with one click. So this is nice. As opposed to going into each individual indicator or drawing, we can just do a wholesale adjustment to our chart. Bring everything back on, we will show all those indicators. And then lastly, if we want to do some deleting, we can delete all indicators with one click as well as all drawings. Two more things I want to show you about the drawing tools, and that is up here in this more menu. When you click that, you're going to see two items, continuous draw and snap to data. Continuous draw allows me to select a drawing and continuously draw across my chart without having to go in and out of that drawing menu. So very quickly, if I wanted to draw a bunch of these trend lines without going in and out of this lines menu, I've just drawn 1, 2, 3, 4 trend lines in a matter of seconds. So that's the nice part about continuous draw. If you know you're going to be doing multiple drawings at once, it just allows you to more efficiently place those drawings as opposed to going in and out of the menu each time. Let's go ahead and finish that up, and we'll delete these drawings real quick. And the next thing I want to show you is something called snap to data. Now, snap to data is a way to draw trend lines with a little bit of assistance from the charting package, where before we were just sort of eyeballing and placing those trend lines. Snap to data is going to snap the starting and ending points of your drawing to a portion of the candle. So let's get in real close so you can see what's happening. If you notice as I move my mouse, the drawing is activated. We see the little circle, and as we move from candle to candle, the chart is snapping it to parts of the candle. So here we have the bottom or low price of the candle. Here we have the open price, the closing price, and the high price of the candle. So depending on where you want to start the drawing, you can let the platform select that for you with Snap to Data. Once I click that, we've activated the drawing, and it will do the same thing when I close or end the drawing. We'll find which part of the candle we want to snap that data to. And now the starting and ending point of that drawing is directly snapped to the low price of each of these candles. Now that we got our chart set up, let's do some trading. Trading on charts is actually pretty slick, pretty easy to do. To put it in order, we're simply going to right click on a price level that we find interesting. In this case, I'm going to line up a limit order to buy a couple shares of Apple based on this 100-day moving average. So I'm just going to line my mouse up to where that moving average is, hit right click on my mouse, and then you'll see a menu appears, and right at the top, buy limit at 214.86. This is essentially tied to the price level that I clicked at on my mouse, and we can go into that and immediately an order appears on our screen. From here I can edit the order as I see fit, so maybe we want to round this out to $215, and we'll put this order in good till canceled, and let's change the amount of shares we're buying to 3. Once we're happy with the order, we'll hit Buy Apple. You'll notice our order is submitted, and over on the right side of our screen, tagged and right on our chart visible, is that limit order to buy 3. Now the cool part about trading from charts is maybe we want to cancel, replace this order. We don't have to go to our orders widget necessarily. We can simply grab this and drag it down to a new price level, and that's going to queue up a new order ticket. It's going to line the price up where our mouse stopped dragging. And once again, if we want to refine this, maybe make this an even $200, we have now are ready to cancel and replace this order. And to do that, I'm going to hit replace, and our original order is canceled, our new order is submitted, and it is currently visible on the chart. Likewise, if you just want to straight out cancel this order, you'll notice this little X next to the badge limit buy. We click that, and boom, our order is canceled with one click. All right, once you've set up your chart and you've got everything ready to go, you can actually link your chart to different widgets within Legend. Here I've set up a basic watch list widget on my left side of my screen. And notice here we've got the linking group in the upper left-hand corner to the color yellow. If we want to link this chart to this watch list, it's as simple as making sure that all those colors match up. And once I've done that, you'll see both of these widgets are linked together. And what that allows me to do is quickly navigate through a watch list. And as I click on the watch list, my chart on the right updates, but all of my studies, all of those indicators remain the same. Meanwhile, drawings, those are saved per symbol. So if we go back to the Apple, you'll see that our drawings that we did earlier in the video are still visible on our chart, and we can see those as is. So those drawings save per symbol. Now the other thing a chart will show is if you have a position. So just like we had those badges on our screen for orders, we will also see an indicator when we have a position in a stock. So looking at our watch list, we have a couple positions on this watch list. Let's go to our position in Nike, which we see by this little check mark next to the symbol NKE. When we click on that, our chart is updated on the right side. And if we just sort of scrub over, you'll see we have a position of 5 shares in Nike, and the color coding on this is going to be based on the current performance of the position. So we have a position of Nike at this price level of 83.62, currently down very small in this position, and it draws a line across our screen, essentially letting us know where we got into the position relative to the drawings on our chart. So you can see this very faint green dotted line that spans left to right on our screen. And basically it's letting you know relative to the data on your chart, how close are you to that entry point from your original trade. Now, a very cool feature of trading from the charts is when I hover over this badge, I can very quickly place both limit and stop orders on this position. So when I hover over stop, you'll notice the bottom part of my chart gets grayed out, letting me know that because this is a long position, I own these shares, that I need to place that sell stop order below the current price. If I was looking to take profit, get out of this position above my entry point, I hover over limit, a sell limit would be placed above. So visually letting you know kind of where you would place these orders depending on what your intentions are. Let's place a sell stop order just to determine our risk. And I can use the charts to help me figure that out. Maybe this area right here recently where the stock bounced off of, so that level's around $77. Let's put our stop order there. I'm gonna select stop and we'll change this price to $77 and we'll run this good for canceled. And there you can see it queued up the opposite of my position, 5 shares. We're selling this because we currently own these shares, and we'll hit sell Nike. And now you see we have our stop market order working right there, visible on our screen, right in relation to our technicals and our visuals on the chart. So very intuitive, very quick, very slick in terms of how we can both manage our positions and create and manage working orders as well. Now, in addition to trading directly on the chart, as we saw earlier in the video, we have the buy and sell buttons here. So let's say we wanted to place an order on a different stock. Let's just select, I'm gonna put Coca-Cola in the chart. And let's just say we wanted to buy this stock directly from the buy sell button. We'll click buy and the order ticket appears there, and we can choose to place any order that we normally would. We can do a limit, market order, stop. Using our chart, maybe we want to buy if Coca-Cola drops to this 50-day moving average of around $70. We'll put that in for 1 share at $70, and we'll work this good till canceled and put that in. And now you can see the order has appeared on our screen. And we did that just by going to the buy button as opposed to right-clicking on our mouse like we did before. All right, we've opened positions, we've managed positions, we've canceled orders, we've replaced orders. Let's show you how to close a position using the charts. For that, we'll go to our position in Cisco. Looks like we have 3 shares that we are currently long. What if we wanted to get out of this? We showed you how to set a limit and a stop order. What if we just wanted to close the position? Well, with that, there's this little X to the right of your performance on the position. We'll click that, and this queues up an opposite order of what you currently have as a position. In this case, we own 3 shares, so by clicking the X, it has queued up a sell order to sell 3 shares. And let's just sell these at the market. Let's get rid of this position. Our order submitted and was filled, so just as easy to close a position as it is to open it on the charts. Last thing I want to show you is the settings menu in the upper right hand corner, the 3-dot menu. When we click on that, we have the option to show some different things on our chart, whether we want to view extended hours or not, open order. So for example, you can see we have our open stop order on this chart. If we want to get rid of that, not see it, we can just click off and now it's not visible. Same thing with our open position. This is once again a personal preference if you want to keep your chart nice and clean. But of course, if you find value in those settings, you can go back and turn those on. There's no wrong answers in Robinhood Legend. Whatever works for you and what fits your preference as a trader and investor, make sure you set up accordingly. All right, last thing I want to show you. I built a multi-monitor setup. On my monitor here on the left, I've got the account summary widget, my watch list, recent orders, positions, and then I've added 2 new chart widgets to this layout. The one in the upper right-hand corner, this is a daily chart with 5-minute intervals, and then below we're going long-term. This is a 5-year chart with weekly intervals. Meanwhile, on our right monitor, this is the monitor we spent all video setting up, which is our 1-year daily chart that has our moving averages, RSI, and MACD. All of this is linked together with linking groups. So as I move through my watch list and start clicking on different symbols, all of these charts are going to update because they're linked together. Meanwhile, as a trader, this allows me to have both a long-term perspective as well as short-term, medium-term, everything that you need sort of at your fingertips. And so this would be an example of how an active trader might set up their screen, where they have access to all their account information. They have a short-term chart looking at daily price action. Meanwhile, we have our medium-term chart over here on the right monitor. And then below we have our long-term chart, keeping that perspective of what the stock has done over a longer periods. That's the beauty of Robinhood Legend. This charting package is powerful, it's dynamic, customizable, and once you get comfortable with how it all works, you can build a layout like this to make your trading efficient, quick, and effective. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more tips and tutorials on Robinhood Legend. Have a question? Drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And happy trading. We'll see you in the next video.